You should have children. You should get married, because what will you do if you end up alone? A career is not that important without a family. There's nothing as great as having someone beside you. Last time I checked, Chirico, when people have good things, they don't want to share them. And last time I also checked, when people make bad choices, they want others to join them in their muddy pits. So Chirico, why don't you learn to mind your business and live your life and not care about trying to convince me that my choices are bad for me? Because guess what? When it comes to my life, I am the most qualified. I am the only one that has the right and the final say about what I should do or not. Of course, I can always change my mind, I know, but that also has nothing to do with you. But of course, this isn't enough to create some sort of understanding, because turns out a lot of people are always itching to want a proper explanation. But are you sure you're okay? Are you sure? I get very bored of people. I find human beings to be the most despicable creatures on this planet, You just need to look at politics to see the great picture that the human species has painted, one that is putrid enough to make God abandon humanity for all it's worth, regretting that he allowed it to be written somewhere that they are made in his image and likeness. Maybe it's how I was brought up. Maybe I have had very bad experiences in my own life, but one thing I know for sure is that I prefer my own company over any companionship. I love being alone. I like doing things alone. In fact, my favorite sound is silence. When I want to do something, I do it. When I want to go somewhere, I go. I have never been one to wait for someone so that I can do things. I was actually very surprised when I found out that there were people who didn't do things if they didn't have a friend or family member to accompany them. Turns out, such people are also surprised when they realize that I don't wait for anyone to live my life. Being alone is something that is very normal to me. I am the only girl in my family and also the firstborn, which means that I was the one who had to look for answers in my life because no one bothered about me. This has always been the case, and even now that I'm at home, I can see how it makes others sort of uncomfortable because they don't know what to do with me. I was not supposed to be home at this age because I'm a girl and should have gotten married in my tribe. Women and girls are a temporary family because there's this expectation that you will go away someday into some other family. I know they don't want me here because I see how people whisper to themselves so that I don't know what's going on, how they don't tell me anything concerning family matters, how everything they do, how they breathe is all a sign to let me know that I'm not needed, that my time is up, that I am not wanted. I'm a waste of space for them. I am imposing myself on my own family. Every month when I have my period, all the pains and nuisances that comes with it, they make me temporarily disabled, and yet I still take care of myself. I do things myself. I cook, I work, I do all the house chores, all while my body is punishing me for not being pregnant. I have people around me, but they don't help in any way. They are so absorbed in carrying only about what they want that they don't even notice that I might not be well. I have learned from experience too that voicing out a cry for help is always bound to come with a touch of gaslighting, mansplaining. Are you sure those period cramps are that painful? Maybe you're just exaggerating. I've never really had anyone having such a bad experience as you. So why should I be afraid of being alone or even dying alone when even with people around me, I still have to show up for myself as if I were on my own. It's just easier on me to accept my solitude and have no expectations of anyone. But I wonder why the same people that don't want to be of any help to me always expect me to be at their beck and call and be ready to throw everything away to cater to them. I like being alone because it's when I feel whole. I feel lonely when I'm around people, but I feel alive and lively when I'm alone. In my solitude, I know that I don't have to reduce myself to make anyone comfortable. I allow myself to be me in whatever ways that I want, without judgment, without supposition, without overthinking. I am also a total introvert. Sometimes I wonder whether I was born one or whether I became one through my circumstances. In any case, I don't like being around people. I will always choose reading a book or staring at the clouds over having a conversation with a human being, because it always ends with people giving me unsolicited advice rooted in their own insecurities. There's nothing as as boring as watching people use you as a springboard for their fears and then not understand why you don't speak to them afterwards. I have always found it so fascinating how many people gravitate towards friendships and romantic relationships not because they want to, but because they are afraid of being alone. And then they expect their friends and partners to become this image they have in their heads of a perfect human being who will always be there for them, run at every beck and call, and never do anything to hurt them. Seems like setting yourself up for failure, because if you take time to know yourself and be comfortable with yourself, you would know that even you wouldn't live up to those expectations. If you don't get comfortable with who you are, you will never have fruitful relationships. You can only love others as deeper as you love yourself. You can only show compassion and understanding to others if you practice them to yourself. This fear of being alone is what creates entitlement over other people's time, money, and energy. And isn't this one of the key reasons for the deterioration of many relationships today?
I've been watching Love is Blind Habibi, and I just find it so shocking, and I don't know why I find it shocking, because most of the cultures that have been depicted in this series are very similar to African cultures, but I think it just catches me off guard because I just don't understand how some human beings think. One of the things that I find to be absolutely fascinating that has been shown in this series, that is something I also see in day-to-day life and something that is really expected of women, is this idea that, oh, once you get married to a man, you have to give up everything as a woman in order to accommodate the man, in order for the man to be comfortable. They'll use the excuse, the sorry excuse of tradition and culture, which really makes you wonder, okay, then is this real love really? Because when you truly love someone, you are not going to use an excuse of culture and tradition to justify why you are treating them as lesser than a human being. It is a fact that a lot of men in these patriarchal societies will use the sorry excuse of culture. This is how we've always done things. This is our tradition. This is our religion. Justify why they treat women as baby making machines, as nannies, especially when they become wives. I just didn't understand the guy who was like, oh, once you become my wife, there's nothing like going out with the girls. As if your life as a woman stops the moment you became married and you have to play second fiddle to this man. A man who was saying that, oh, I don't like dancing in any form, and was so disappointed when the lady chose her dancing over the love that they share. I find that a lot of people don't even know what love is. A lot of people have never really experienced what love is. And a lot of people don't love themselves, and therefore they don't know how to love other people. Because this idea that you love someone but you want to prevent them from doing whatever it is that they like just because you don't like it, that is not love. That is an obsession with wanting to control the other person. And the funny thing is that this obsession with the control of women that is portrayed as love is something that is sold to men. I honestly think that's one of the reasons why a lot of men are having trouble in today's dating scene, because they've always been told that love is about control, but women are rejecting that. Women are ready to walk away from love or a relationship if it means that they have to give up their own individual lives. And a lot of men don't understand that. It really makes me wonder, how can you say that you love a woman and yet you think it's okay to demand that she changes her life for you? Huh? If anything, that just goes to show that you really don't value the woman as a human being, but as something that is coming into your life to help your life feel more comfortable in one way or another. There's also this couple where the woman keeps on traveling week in, week out, or several days in a week. Man is like, oh, this is going to be a problem, and the connotation is that she needs to sort of sort it out or maybe look for another job so the man doesn't feel inconvenienced. But it's like, if it's a problem for you, then you can quit your job, find a job where you can work online so that you can travel with her. I mean, that's also an option. But I don't understand why it's always on the woman to give up her life, to sacrifice, to make sacrifices just to make the marriage work. Men are never expected to sacrifice anything. This is why I really don't believe in this concept of marriage, because it has nothing to do with making the lives of women much better, but everything to do with ensuring that you reduce yourself in order to accommodate the man. I was actually shocked with the man who didn't even clean up his house while he was bringing his future wife to come see where they could be living. He didn't even make the effort to clean it up, as if to pass the message that cleaning up for himself is not his job. I've spoken about how living with men is a complete catastrophe for a woman, because I base this off my own experience with living in a male-dominated household as the only girl. And I can tell you for a fact, there's no amount of money that you can pay me to decide to live in the same space with a man forever. Even if it happens that someday I decide to be in a relationship or get married, it only makes sense for everyone to have their own house, because there's no way I am lying to myself that there is a man out there that is an angel, that is different from these other men that I've grown up with now. And whether or not you believe it, whether or not you're like, oh my god, we're gonna go 50-50, the reality of the matter is that as a woman, you're always going to do more work. A lot of people only think of work as, you know, the house chores, but there's the emotional labor that goes into it, there's psychological labor. It's just a lot. And the fact that there's so many people that we constantly want to tell me about how I'm making the wrong choice because I don't want to get married is so baffling to me, because you know what, I have lived with men, you know, in the context of family, they're who they are. They show themselves fully because they know they are your family and there's nothing you're going to do. They show all their true colors. And so when people tell me that I'm making wrong decision, I'm always like, you go ahead, make the decision. You're not fooling me. No one is going to fool me, because the amount of stress that I've experienced in my own household, if you were to tell me to stay home for the next 1 year, I'd rather die. I am so exhausted just dealing with these human beings, because they really don't think about anyone else except for themselves. It's one of the reasons why I decided to be a retired firstborn daughter, to teach myself to be as selfish as a man, because it's my life on the line, you know. If I don't learn to put myself first, I'm gonna die. I'm actually not exaggerating, like the amount of stress that I have to deal with every single day. I'm exhausted. I need to get out of this village as quick as possible. This actually reminds me that some guy that we used to be in school with, that is also a friend of my brother's, was here the other day, and he kept on being like, oh my god, you're not going to be able to go back to France. Can you imagine? People are so invested in my own life, in the things I want to do. He even forced me to make a bet with him under the premise that I'm not gonna be able to go back to France. And so we made a bet of 1,000 euros. Promising to pay 1,000 euros if I'm not able to go to France in the next 2 years, and if I'm able to actually do it, then he's gonna pay me 1,000 euros. And this is one of those things that I just find to be absolutely fascinating, because it's like, why are you so interested in my life? I don't care about how you're living your life. I don't care. The fact that people are so invested in my own life, so invested in trying to tell me what to do, what not to do, I find this fascinating, to a point where you're betting on whether I'll be able to do whatever it is that I want to do with my own life. Like, what is wrong with you? What is wrong with these people? And this is the kind of people I have to deal with on a day-to-day basis. I just don't know how I'm gonna deal with the holidays. No, I cannot handle another holiday with these kinds of people, with these kinds of mindsets. It's absolutely suffocating. The last holiday I almost went deaf. Was it here or here? Because of the stress. Like, I became partially deaf because of the stress I was going through, because of dealing with these creatures, with these species. I am exhausted.